Hey, what's up? We're in the next part. I am so bushed. I've been speaking for like ever and a day, but we're eventually gonna finish this, even if it's tomorrow. It's like 1 a.m. in the morning and I'm so tired. Anyway, whatever, right? So let's carry on talking. Please go check out the previous part to gauge your bearings, you guys, that we might all be on the same page. In the previous part, I was speaking about how I got a flood of nightmares where a conglomerate, a concoction of friends and family members, both on my side and my ex's side, trying to get me to get back together with my ex. One of the strongest reasons of which being that he's busy getting married to a really bad girl. Whatever. So after the flood of those dreams, I just ignored them because frankly I didn't want to be with my ex. I didn't. Nigga done. And I was happy in Christ. I was waiting on the Lord for a husband. It is what it was. That's it. Like, move on. Okay? I then, time progresses, I get matured, I heal in Christ, and about 7 months into my faith with my walk with Jesus, and after my ex and I had broken up, I remember just how ugly and horrible our breakup was, right? And I was like, hey, that's not right. We were together for 5 years, and this is not normal. You don't break up with a person like that. He was a big part of your life. There are a whole bunch of photos of pretty much 5 years of your life where he is in them. You're not going to delete them because you actually lived that life. So, like, go and get closure with him and cordially break up. And on top of that, you are a gospel servant, so evangelize the guy. So, I pick up the phone one day and I call him. And when he answers the phone, he's like, hello. He's like surprised I'm calling him. He's thinking I'm coming back. But no, that's not what's going on. I'm like, hi, Nancy, what's up? Look, I was wondering if you and not wondering. I was like, it would be really great for you and I to have lunch and talk because our breakup was pretty nasty. And I think we need to talk about some things to iron them out. There's something that is on my mind that I would really like to share with you. So, do you mind if we like connect maybe sometime? He was like, yeah, okay, sure. Again, Clearwater Mall. I was like, yeah, okay, we'll meet at Clearwater at this particular restaurant. Yeah, sure, cool. Indeed, he pitches. I go, guys, I arrived there maybe like 10 minutes late and he was already sitting at the restaurant, right? He was so nervous. And I was like, hey, Batung Motona, why is he scared? I was his girlfriend. I mean, relax. It's almost as if though he was expecting the witchcraft that he had put on me to be working and for me to be like, baby, I miss you. Please come back. It's like he was a man that was just like me, kind of determined that this is done, we're finished, we're not together. Like, he was still in that mood. So I essentially got to confirm at that meeting that his family members just wanted me to bug him, literally, because he was not trying to call me. Onale decided, Liena. I meet him and I'm like, hey, what's up? Long story short, not going to give you the full details of that conversation. Before I even went to meet him, I had purchased him some literature, Christian literature, because I'm saved now, so I'm going to try to evangelize the brother. That's what's good. I'm going to try to get him to know Jesus. That's what's good. Anyway, y'all, so I bought him some Christian literature and then we had that meeting and long story short, I said to him, look, we broke up horribly and I just wanted to chat since you and I were together for 5 years. I think it's responsible for us to like iron matters out and say goodbye properly without the nasty. So if one day in the future we bump into each other at the mall, we will greet instead of passing each other with shade, spitting on the floor and everything. And that's when Aputulucha, he literally relaxed when I told him that I'm there to get closure. He thought I was there to beg him to come back. And he was scared. And the reason why he was nervous was because he was scared that he was going to have to tell me no. Seriously, dude? Seriously? Anyway, yeah, no. Witchcraft when it is in operation. Moving on. So he was looking really good. Like, I told you, wardrobe haul. He was already doing well now in life. And he was like, I'm going to do a new thing out here in these streets. I don't need you, Garabo. I don't even know if he was with somebody or if he was single or what. I could not care less. I didn't ask him. I don't want to know. But then as I was gesturing at this meeting, I'd already purchased this ring. Inside it's inscribed wed to Christ. It's a Christian ring, essentially, right? And I've already communicated that to you guys before. I was gesturing, flailing the hand around as I'm gesturing. And what's happening back there? And he looks at this ring. And guys, with so much attitude and so much anger in his eyes, like fury. He's like, what's that? Like, what's that? King. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, what's that? That ring. I was like, oh, this? I don't even know why I responded like that because I didn't owe him that explanation. I proper didn't. I'll be back. Sorry, I had switched on a heater and it was like pulling, it was like short circuiting or something. I don't know what's going on. Had to switch it off. We cannot be getting a shack fire proper because I live in a shack now. Yeah. Weird. Anywho, now that we have prevented the shack fire, let's get back into the conversation. Yes, he looks at my wedding finger. He sees this ring. I was sitting a lot more comfortably at some point. Anyway, he sees a ring in and he gives me a whole bunch of attitude on some. What's this? I didn't tell him. Like I said, I didn't owe him an excuse. I didn't owe him an explanation. Frankly, even if it was a ring on my finger from a fiance, frankly, I get her. Okay, that's how much this guy had invested sorcery in me, to a point where he actually felt angry at the prospect of me ever being with another guy, even though he was not even trying to get back together with me. That is the level of evil. I, however, felt it necessary at that instant when I saw that horrible look on his face to basically calm him down and be like, relax. It's not what you think. I bought it. It's inscribed wed to Christ. It's a Jesus ring because I don't believe in sex before marriage. And guess what? His response was, oh, with that attitude. On some, you better not be with anybody else. As in my ex guys, he got so arrogant. He got so entitled. He got so dark. He got so dark and barely recognizable. Like the thing that he became. He was in the pitch of night. But anyway, whatever. I was trying to evangelize him. And I imagined that whatever he was in, uzopuma. And besides, I didn't really suspect him of being in anything at that stage because I didn't yet know. I ultimately came to find out. Yo, yazi. Guys, nonetheless, whatever, the whole meeting happened and went. So many confirmations happened that there was no way that I could have ever ended up with that guy at the mall after having lunch, right? At what do you call this? At it was Pappuccino's. Go here, water. It's no longer there. Cappuccinos. Whatever. We walked around and bumped into this one couple that was his friends. I told you my ex, everybody knew him, right? Yeah. And this couple, it's like God was saying, even if you were to consider getting back together with this guy, don't even think about it, because the Lord knew that he would try to Ugbuya. He would try, okay? But not yet. At this point, it's like 7 months in and he's still feeling himself because he thinks he's like Nicki Minaj and Beyonce. Okay, cool. Beans and bananas. We meet this other couple, and hey, how are you doing? I mean, they were not mean or whatever, but then for whatever reason, on this random Saturday, they decided to talk about Isondo, things of Christianity, and the male in this couple was busy talking down to Christianity and how it is that Labantu baya Kenya, and they keep on talking about Lord Jesus, so they don't even know if he's real and whatnot. And my ex was supposed to basically stand up and be like, well, relax, like my girlfriend is Christian, not girlfriend, my friend over here. And we struggled to stop talking like we were a couple because we were one for so long. So he struggled to stop using baby when he referred to me and Karabo, and I also struggled to basically remember that we're not together type thing. Again, so here it is that this guy is talking down to Christianity and he knows that I am a convert, like a new convert, okay? And he is not standing for me. He's not, again, the thing that I was crying and complaining about, is not that this guy knew that I was a Christian and so he was offending me knowingly, but my ex knew and he did not defend me. And for me, it was like, Yazin, if I wasn't sure then, now I know. The Lord has put a sword between my ex and I, and we are now at enmity. We are in two different worlds, and there's just nothing that's going to fix that at this point, other than his redemption, because I'm not walking backwards. When that other guy vitrioled, spoke smack about Christianity, and my ex didn't stand up, it just, everything that I needed confirmed was being ever confirmed. Not that I wanted to go back, but yeah, I kind of needed extra help. That's what I'm getting at. So that was that meeting. It ended after that meeting. That bad blood, those ugly vibes that existed between us, they were gone now, right? And we actually became friends. My ex and I were cordial, you guys. We were cordial. There was a time when we were actually good together. It's not like after breaking up, this enmity that currently exists today, it just commenced. It started and I ended it by basically forgiving him, seeking out his forgiveness, reaching closure, and talking like a bunch of adults that are not going to break up in high school. We were together for 5 years, so let's be mature. And well, as mature as we now were, my ex then started calling me like randomly, maybe on like a Wednesday in the middle of the week, or every 2 weeks he'd call and say, no, I'm just checking to see how you're doing. Okay, good, bye. Literally, we were friends. And he was not even trying to come back into my life at that stage in the capacity of a boyfriend. Unang Fonela, he prospered to conquer calling me baby. So I was like, Karabo, right? And I was cool. Nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm doing alright, guys. We were friends. We were properly just friends. And he appeared content to keep it that way, as I was too. Alright? Yeah. That is what was going on. So all of this nasty warring that we are in, he started it. Fine, so we are friends, okay? I went to, there was a time, as you know, my family and a lack of support, yes, like it. Since we were friends and whatnot, there was a time when I was in a hospital for some kind of a procedure, and nobody drove me to the hospital. I had to drive myself. I, however, needed my car to get picked up, so that my car does not park go hospitaling. I was worried about it and whatnot. Plus, I could not drive myself back home after I got discharged because there would be too much medication in my body and I would be, so I needed help with that. I first called my mom and my mother was like, I'm not really sure if I can. What? And then I called my cousin and my cousin was like, I'm not really sure if I can. At this point, I'm like, what in the world is going on? What in the world is going on over here? And not only did my cousin say, I'm not really sure if I can, she was like, why don't you ask Nancy? Almost as if I'm still with Nancy. Yes, people were just trying to push me to this guy. So I really needed help at this point. Nancy and I had, sort of kind of ironed out bad vibes and bad energy. So I was like, he's my boy, he's my friend now. So I guess I might as well call Nancy. And lo and behold, Nancy came. He left his car, and took a taxi, public transport, because he would have to drive my car back, right? He drove it back go Habona. He would then pick me up from the hospital. The next day, well, on the day when I got discharged, basically, I would be there for 2 days, right? And discharged on the second day type setup thing. Not only did Nancy come before my procedure, he came with flowers and everything, like he was my boyfriend. After the procedure, as I was recovering, he was the only visitor that I had the whole time. Yazi family, guys, as I want to, abatembeki man. He was the only visitor I had the whole time. I told you he was a decent guy, but however, he was taken by Usachan. Anyway, he was the only visitor, and his personality was like still there. Like now he was busy making jokes with the nurses and what have you about Sechisa, and they kept on being like, "Hey, yeah, boyfriend, yeah, come on, nice, suga. Visiting hours where to like uzowa excel, like sizomkosha lana." Yeah, and I was just laughing on some. If they call him a boyfriend, it's fine, whatever. Let them assume whatever, but I know what's going on. And not in my own members. I knew I didn't want to get back together with this guy, but he was the only person that was there for me. I still was like, I'm not doing this, okay? I'm not doing it. Type establishment thing, whatever, cool. On the day then of my discharge, he was there right on time, drove me, what do you call this, home, took my car, because I was recovering right at home for like the whole week thereafter. He took my car home, go Habona, again, because I knew that he was gonna come back, he was going to come back the next day to drop off my car, and then he was gonna go back. Once I was recovered, once I was okay to drive, I was then gonna drive him back home to drop him off. So essentially for a few days, my car was parked in Kohabona, in which time his family got excited that we're getting back together. And I found this out because I had this cousin who was a friend of his sister's, and she came back to me and she was like, Karabo, are you and Nancy getting back together? I'm like, no girl, we're not. Why? No, it's just that Nancy's sister told me that your car was parked there and they were getting all excited that you guys are getting back together. I was like, no, I was in hospital and you little buggers didn't even come and visit me. But anyway, I was in hospital and he was the only person that was, I guess, available to help me out with like that particular, like those hospital issues. And she was like, oh, okay, hish. Anyway, Kazi, how are you? Yeah, okay, moving on. Right, so his family got excited because my car was parked, but like I was not trying to get back together with him type thing. But during that time, during that very season of him seeing me every day, he would come like to visit me every day, right? Shem Hasi Nancy. Anyway, he was already running his business. Oh, he had finally quit his 9-to-5 job, and now he was full on just doing business. Okay, so congratulations, you finally did it. So because he was now full on doing business, he was showing me, you know, basically his new success, his construction site photos of the environment where he is working. Some days he would rock up proper smelling like sweat and the sun, and I'd be like, whoa, you're like proper umuntu westrata manje. Anyway, whatever, but I knew it was like work. And he showed me photos of things that he's doing, right? So he was in construction, that's what he was doing, type establishment thing. And he and remember I told you guys that when we were still dating, my ex and I, he never ever withheld his phone from me because I had his passcode. Not his passcode, he never had a passcode in the first place. Like he never kept anything from me, type establishment thing. That ease and that comfort was still in him. And I was busy scrolling through these photos of his msebenzi and everything that he's showing me, and there was like, ultimately I happened upon a pic of like a really pretty girl, you know, and I got jealous type setup thing, but I was like, he gets to have a girlfriend, like lost at 8. It looks as if though she was sitting across a table from him at a restaurant of sort, and he took a photo of her, type establishment thing, while she was like eating type thing. And yeah, well, after seeing that pic, I gave him his phone back because I frankly didn't want to see their memories. I did not want to see nudes, if at all there were any. I was just like, we know night debates. He let me like go through his phone, but that's only because he gave me his phone to do that. And I gave it back to, I don't want to feel jealousy, I don't want to be uncomfortable, I don't want anything, because like, Papa, we're not together, okay, we're not together, like that's what's good. So I'm in this particular state now. Like I said, every single day that he would rock up, he did exactly what it is that my ex always used to do, like buy flowers, chocolates, like stuff like that, just the same old romantic guy. And I didn't know what in the world this was. It was like, oh, thank you for the flowers, I guess you have brought your friend that was in hospital flowers. Nyabong, thank you for the flowers. One night when he was going, oh yeah, and I kept on trying still to evangelize him. I kept on talking, like I raised the issue of sex with him, on trying to basically gauge if he's gotten any kind of conviction at all about sexual sin. And I was like, you know, sexual sin, I even made him like proper watch a sermon with me, Paul Washer, hoping that he would like repent and stuff. Like I was trying, and he was just sitting there listening to the sermon, but I could tell he was disinterested, he was detached, he was removed, he was not even trying to hear it. And then we spoke about sex, and I was like, yeah, no, like sex before marriage, blah blah blah, I'm really convicted that there's like an issue with it. So like, yeah, that's something that I'm not like, yeah. And then he was like, no, I've been kind of guilty for the past like couple of months, because I have like engaged in it. Well, I mean, I had seen a photo of a woman in there in his phone type thing. So I was like, okay, so he's had sex. And for me, like every time my ex and I would break up, during the time when we were together, the thing that would be a deal breaker was during our breakup, if he slept with someone, if he was with somebody, I would not get back together with him. So for me, it was like, oh, he just told me he slept with somebody or some bodies, a couple of people, maybe one angazi. And for me, it was like, that's definitely it. I was with you and you only for 5 years. I haven't slept with any other guy pretty much in that entire time, even up until this date. But you know, there's been somebody else with you. So like, yeah, I don't know why in the world I was even like tabulating those things in my mind, because it was over. But something, I don't know, whatever, maybe I was thinking maybe not entirely over. It was not a safe space to be in anyway, whatever. But I was convicted that we got to move on. So even if I was uncertain, I was going to eventually come to the conclusion that no, we're not doing this. Okay, very well. He eventually goes home, and like he knew my family, my mom. Like I was at this point staying at home. I had moved back home because I wanted to pay off my debt and everything. I left my apartment, right? My mom was happy to see him and whatnot, because she thought that yeah, no, they support each other, whatever. Look, at this point I gotta walk out, right? And my ex is looking like he's recovered. The mean thing that he was, it looks like it has like been extracted out of his bones. Oh, and he looked really good as well, like super healthy. Let's just put that out there. Okay, cool beans and bananas. Then it's time for him to go home, and we're outside Kopila garage. He's still driving my vehicle, right? Because I'm yet to recover fully to drive, type establishment thing. And I hug him, and he like leans in, like tries to kiss me, and that's when I was like, ha 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 ha. Yes, I guess I'll see you like, you know, tomorrow. And he looked away on some, I guess I can't do that then. I can't just like go in there. This is not happening, I guess. Now for me, it was like, Kanjani, dude. I knew that he had a girlfriend because I saw that pic of that chick in his phone. But you see, I remembered when him and I were together, we spent all day, like especially in the new stages of our relationship, we would talk all day, all night, wake up, and there'd be like a couple of trickled in text messages from either him or me. And I found it weird that he would spend hours with me, hours, every day from the time that I got discharged from the hospital. And all of those hours, no phone call came through for him or even a text message from a woman. And I was like, how in the world do you go hours without contacting your girlfriend? How in the world do you go hours without talking? Is it a girlfriend, or is it a one night stand, or is it just a photo of some chick that is not even your girl? Angazi. But for me, I was like, this man, if he is in a relationship, whatever he has is empty in comparison to what we had. It's empty. Maybe he had a woman that he wanted to pretty much repeat what he had with me with, but she was like, you call too much. I'm busy. I'll see you. You text too much. Yeah, like what I wanted, all of that attention, maybe she didn't want it. And so hours would go. Annalyn, phone is right there and it's not ringing except for one of these guys maybe calling or and I was like, whoa, it's very quiet in your land these days. I suspect that maybe it got to him. From what my cousin told me, he had a girlfriend. Remember, she had told me he's dating some chick and she basically looks like me, blah, 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 and whatnot. Type setup thing. And I was like, okay, where is this woman? Why are you not like on the phone with each other like all the time? It's like he was in and out of relationships and nothing was sticking. Nothing was sticking. Nothing was sitting. He did not try to get back together with me. Like verbally, he did not vocalize it. He didn't say anything. I drove him home finally on the last day when I was now good, healthy, basically recovered. I drove him home, dropped him off, and well, that wasn't the last time I spoke to him. Remember, every so often though, after a week or two, he would call me, how you? Nah, I'm good, whatnot. But I think it just kind of settled in him. He realized at that stage that I'm not going back. I'm not going back. And the calls declined. They plateaued. They were less and less until ultimately months would progress and he wouldn't call or anything like that, and I was not necessarily missing him, but in those months I got dreams. In those months I started to get these nightmares where, guys, it's almost as if though I got one nightmare every fortnight of this nature. Pregnancy. I would wake up in a cold sweat in dreams where I would suddenly be pregnant and my belly would grow very fast, and in it was his baby, and I was always very unhappy with that because in my mind, in my dream, I was thinking, I don't want this man's baby. I'm waiting on God for a husband and I don't want to be stranded with him. I got these dreams repetitively for something like 2 to 3 months where I just kept on falling pregnant. I was pregnant and the baby was always his and the stomach was always growing at a stupid rate. Yeah, goodness gracious. I didn't know it was witchcraft. He was trying to now come back. That was bring back lost lover. That was him. Remember I told you guys that I had a friend who fell into the trap of a guy that she wanted to leave. But then he made her fall pregnant, even though she was on the pill. But strangely, she fell pregnant. That particular part, I used Romans 9 to define Jacob I have loved, yet Esau I have hated. God will have mercy on whomever he will have mercy. Spoke about how I made the same mistakes as my girl, this like best friend of mine. But my best friend ended up getting trapped while God protected me from getting trapped. And the way she was trapped was by pregnancy. I also made mention of another girl who was the Medi of one of my ex's boys, who we had a conversation and she had told me she wants to leave, and a year later I saw her and she had given birth to his child, and I was like, whoa, last time we spoke you wanted to leave and now you're a mom. That same witchcraft that caused those two women who were on their way out, Gadi suitcase pack, he pulled it on me. Remember, I'm now in Christ. I got off the pill. I even got acne because of getting off the pill. I had to go on Rakitin. So I am fertile alongside pregnable, in the sense that I'm not using any prevention. at like even in the slightest, okay? And this guy is given an idea by the devil to impregnate me, because all it would take is a one night stand. All it would take is one night of passion, of falling apart. All it would take is me to get weakened, have sex, and since I'm not on any such preventative measures, I would have fallen pregnant, and that would be what would put me in. He was given an idea. I got off the pill, like I told you. I was on Rakitin for 6 months. My skin had cleared now. I had gotten Rakitin was a couple of months, perhaps maybe like 5 or 7 or 6 months. So another year had progressed basically before the Rakitin got out of my system. So not only was I pregnable, but I was within a feasible state to keep the pregnancy. I also was a Christian, so I'm totally pro-life. There's no way I would have ever had an abortion. I was no longer in the world where I was pro-choice. If at all I had fallen into sexual sin because for whatever reason I had a moment of weakness with this guy, I would have fallen pregnant. And around the exact same time when this was entirely viable, I then get these horrible nightmares. At this stage, my mom and I have a falling out because we just keep having falling outs. A lot happens in between that is really not for me to describe right here because it's another story for another day. But I finally end up living in my own apartment again. And on the day when I am not moving into this apartment, but when my furniture was being brought from the furniture store, because I also had to purchase furniture at the same time. I moved into my apartment called Lone Hill. That apartment, I was only there for a couple of months before everything fell apart for me in my career. Hey man, boulders came falling in my life, guys. Yes, well, that was now 2014, the year where I would lose everything. But before I lost everything, my mom and I had a falling out, had to get out of her house. I'm now living in Lone Hill. I lived in an empty apartment with no furniture for like a month before the furniture came in. I was sleeping on the floor on a sponge. And on the day when the furniture delivery guys were dropping off my furniture, my bed had been like newly screwed together. It was a sleigh bed, like this very one Grand Shop that I'm on right now. This bed had arrived. As the furniture delivery guys are exiting, making me sign for my delivery, a phone call comes through. Caller ID, I recognize it. Remember, we are friends. Okay, so I don't really have any beef with him. Plus, the dreams I'm busy getting of the pregnancy, I still don't understand how to interpret my dreams. I only got there once I was suffering. Did I ever basically interpret my dreams properly? And I had been every fortnight been getting these pregnancy dreams like no man's business. And then lo and behold, my ex calls me after being quiet for some months. Hi Karabo, how are you? And I'm like, hey brother, are you right over there? Right, we are talking, we are cordial and what have you, but he was nervous. He was not the same voice that he was shortly after the closure had been gotten. Unale normally, he was cool, but this time around, he was stumbling. He was stumbling around. He was scared. He was scared on the phone, I could tell. And I'm like, no, I'm cool. He's like, yo, you and I should hook up. We should have lunch sometime, eh? Yo, just to connect. And what have you. And I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, we can have lunch. But I could tell that he wants to come back. And like, it was in the way that he was speaking. Unang taba. He was scared. And my ex was never scared of me on the phone. Not like that. Not after we had gotten used to each other anyway. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah. I could tell Umuntu wanted to get back together. And he's like, I'll call you to organize pretty much the date type establishment thing. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll wait for you to holla at a sister. And at the top of my mind, I'm busy telling myself, there is no way I'm not getting back together with this guy. This is now a year later. I told you it would not be until 1 year down the line that my ex would like snap fully out of whatever it is that was the tsunami that took him over and tried to come back. Because manje mesegushubile, it was a jungle out there. Things were not working out. He was missing me. But I was now at this day, this is now 3 years. No, this was not a year, you guys. This was not a year since our breakup. It's 3. All these stories that I'm telling are happening over 3 years. It took a while. We were friends for something like a year because remember, I got saved in 2011, and in the first year of us being broken up, I got close. A lot was happening. His family members were trying to get me to get back together with him. I then had that meeting with him where we got closure, and then we became friends. And then months would progress. He wouldn't call me, and then he would call me. He wouldn't call me. wouldn't call me. And now this was the 3rd year because I was safe for pretty much 3 years before everything fell apart in my life. I lost everything only 3 years into my faith. Okay, this was 2014. I remember because my furniture was being delivered to my apartment on that day, and that apartment is the one where a lot of hell broke loose in my life. I was dragged out of it kicking and screaming by Maponesa, with my mother rocking up there saying that I'm crazy, I'm gonna commit suicide and I need to be put into a psychiatric hospital. And then the church did like a solid on me, and yeah, all that jazz. Yeah, it all happened in the year 2014. I lost my job for no reason. I got fired without cause. But things fell apart for me. 2.5 to 3 years of me being Christian. Yeah, that was the beginning of this thing that I'm in now. And all these stories I'm telling, they were cultivated. That was when South Africa had basically finished a Christian off, or they had put God in a position to take a Christian out of society because it is no longer sufferable for Christians to live in this land. My ex at that stage, I'm busy getting dreams back to back about me being pregnant with his baby. Then he strangely calls me a few months from the first dream that I get, like maybe 2 months from the first such strange dream that I get. Bring back lost lover. On the phone, he's all nervous, he's trepidatious, and I'm talking to him on some, okay, I guess we can have lunch, but I can tell Lomuntu wants to come back into my life because time has progressed and he has tried the market. And just like that conversation we had some time ago where we both were like, it doesn't make sense for us to not be together, it's a jungle out there. Well, he had come to learn that it's a jungle out there. He had had a pretty hard time with some pretty bad women in the world. He was likely in and out of relationships, or he did not get what he wanted out of those relationships. He had had sex in and out of random females, and now he was like, I want Karabo back, and I'm gonna get it back by any means necessary. First he uses witchcraft, and then he calls me. Yo, I'm like, sharp, we'll meet. If you call me, maybe one day we'll have lunch. Sharp. I get my furniture in my apartment. Time progresses. He doesn't call. Utugile. The Lord, we arrested this guy. Ohanne. Mudimu Ohanne. What do you understand? Ohanne. Ganna. I believe what my ex wanted to do, but for whatever reason he couldn't do it, was catch me in a moment of weakness. And then we fall. Decide that, nah, we're not going to do this. And then I come back 2 months later. Nyang pregnant. Nyang pregnant. Nyang pregnant. Come back 2 months later, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. I guess, this is life. Pregnancy happens. Yeah. And then because now I'm pregnant, I guess we might as well I guess we might as well now get married. Shape Pinaya, Drake, Beyonce. Let's stop holding back like this and let's get carried away. We should get married. We should get married. Kona jwanong abuti so watla o propose lenyalo ka nnete. Singeditse 5 years kaofela. I'm born again now. Now only want to propose marriage. 5 years okay, you wasted. At this stage, my ex hasn't got a kid. I don't have a kid. There is more or less a clean slate for both of us, but I'm saved and he's lost. And that on its own was enough for me to be like, we are not doing this. Especially considering you don't want my God. Lo and behold, only like a month and a half from that date when he calls me and tells me we should get married. Well, not we should get married, but we should hook up so we can make you pregnant, so we can get married. Basically, the effection of that very strategy of making me pregnant, since I am pregnable at this point, everything in my life starts to fall apart. Sabotage in the office. Suspension without cause. Sitting at home gathering dust doing nothing. After I get that phone call and after I get those dreams of being pregnant. Guys, he picked up in my tone on the phone that I was not interested in getting back together. And so he was like, basically, whatever, Karaboche, I'm gonna tip you like a domino. Everything of mine fell apart. Guys, I lost thing after thing after thing in succession, Lankutla. Thing after thing after thing in succession. It's like he was so mad. Yazi, whatever my ex joined, whatever he joined, you guys, azang wang phone futhi again after that, he could pick up me it wasn't amateur. The thing that he did was not amateur. It wasn't. I've seen amateur witchcraft with a guy trying to mess with my career. That random bafunoko MTN that I did it for 2 months, that was amateur. What my ex was involved in was a cult that he was, I believe, inducted into by one of his boys. And whenever, he was easily triggered in a way that he never used to be. He was easily triggered. My ex had temperance. Remember I told you that he was very temperate, that was very calm, that he was never the kind to raise his voice. Whatever it is that he joined gave him a short fuse. It made him trigger happy to basically just tip dominoes at his leisure. And he came at me in a month, literally just a month to a month and a half later from the date when I basically gave him vibes and energy over the phone, making it clear that I don't want to get back together. However, not in so many words. Like, my whole career fell apart. Everything fell apart. I was gonna say Yazuk Jola Raf, mara frankly menga Jolanga Raf. This dude joined the occult and became Raf. I did not understand anything I was seeing. I did not understand any of the dreams I was getting until finally I was sitting at home, and God was like, you've got a gift. I've been showing it to you. Now teach, get trained how to interpret, that you might know what's coming at you so that you are not going to allow random buffoonery to slap you upside the head. And it would take years of such training for me to get to this particular place where I understand what I'm seeing in dreams. This ex of mine, Azang, like everything just continued to fall apart. After that loss of the job, I lost my apartment. I had to move back home. I tried to get my own apartment again and I couldn't, but throughout the time, the dreams I was getting about my ex, I was busy crying and complaining that I was being afflicted by this random buffoon from MTN, right? The one that I thought was my future husband. And in that season, when I was busy talking about this guy in that capacity, he got so jealous. Because I was talking about sharing my sentiments of that nature on social media, and he was watching my videos and I was not talking about him. He was so angry at the fact that I did not want him, not him. I was hung up on some other guy at the time of his insanity. I was into someone else. The guy, what name did I give him? It doesn't matter. That guy, I spoke about him in some other previous part. He deserves his own segment. I'm not going to labor on that particular story. Nonetheless, that whole situation, as it was unfolding, he got angrier and angrier, and I got a dream of him imagining himself, since he was busy afflicting me with stalking, that other guy, right? Hey, but some guys have been through so much here. I got a dream of him imagining himself like, is it Morris Chestnut? Yes, in the movie The Perfect Guy. You know how Morris Chestnut is the sober ex-boyfriend of Sana Nathan, and then Michael Ealy is the freak that is hiding underneath the bed type thing. Yeah. I got like a whole bunch of dreams where my ex was trying to depict himself as a sober ex-boyfriend while I'm busy spazzing over some like freak that is an occult buffoon, when in and of himself he was an occult buffoon. But he wanted to give himself the veil of looking like the sober ex that I should call to come and rescue me, because some other freak is in my bed lurking, trying to kill me, that I only knew for 5 seconds. I understood my dreams at that time. I was rightly dividing them. I was rightly interpreting them. So I was getting increasingly irritated with the witchcraft of my ex-boyfriend. So much so did I never ever get left alone that still to this day, I'm still struggling from my ex's witchcraft. And it is the most recent spell that he cast that inspired this, I don't know how many parts long series that I have. I am under a severity of demonic abuse and attack right now because I recently have been getting dreams of my ex in an extremely licentious capacity. Odd am I finding it, because in these dreams, and it's not just recent, but by recent I mean couple of months, the past 2 months, back to back, ntse ke lo reka my ex. And then the dreams that I get whenever people are doing witchcraft on me, they are not in prospect or retrospect. They don't happen. A person does not cast a spell and then I only dream about it in 5 months. They cast a spell and I dream about it same night or night after. It's immediate. Spiritually, I am shown what happens because the demons go to work straight away. So if I'm getting a dream about you that I understand to be witchcraft, you are currently busy. And my ex is currently very, very, very busy. I have been writing them off, brushing them off, because for the life of me, I cannot fathom what does he think exactly is going to happen at this particular point, given that I am this far gone in my agitation, irritation, and enmity with him. What does he hope to achieve with this new batch of sorcery? That then brings me to the next point: the insanity, the psychosis that ultimately becomes the daily bread of people involved in the occult is such that they keep trying over and over and over again. I just come from doing a series talking about a guy in the US that I have told to leave me alone, bugger off, and he keeps on going back to the drawing board to fetch witchcraft. It's like they are urinating on me like animals marking their territory. I am being fought for by a whole bunch of men that lost me, and they want to come back. I not only recently have had my ex come back, so too did the guy that I thought was my future husband coming back. So basically, I have had the Morris Chestnuts, not the Michael Ealy, recent dreams about them, and the random freak from the US Stalker that I did a series about. All of them, it's a barrage. They're coming at me. My ex's rearing back of the ugly head of his sorcery commenced about 2 to 3 months ago, and it's been back to back slapping me. And my thing that I'm asking is, Tola guy, where is he looking for me? Is he reading my blog? Is he in my YouTube channel? Is he on my Facebook? It doesn't matter where he is at or where he is looking at me, but what ought to be understood is that he is looking at me. I imagine it is very highly likely my blog and my YouTube channel, because that is the link that everybody that initially was looking at me fall and break my teeth after what happened to me at MTN happened. That's what they have, and my blog has never changed URL, and neither has my YouTube channel ever changed URL. It's the same YouTube channel I had all those years ago. So basically, occult practitioners keep on coming back and checking up on me. What this ex-boyfriend of mine does not realize is that the handling of his person and the issuing of a judgment on him is frankly imminent in the absence of repentance. And I'm going to explain to you what happened to bring my ex to a place of like basic insanity now, and severe regret. However, upon observing the fact that I appear to not be getting my life back together, hope in him. How it even commenced. It commenced with the fact that he decided to marry the Jezebel that was the bane of my existence in our relationship, that he told me he was in love with at some point, abandoned her because I was complaining that she was the bane of my existence, and the separation between us in the years that progressed caused him to reconcile with that chick. And now that he was making money, she wanted him, and then he went on right ahead to marry her, and now namhlanje she is rottenness in his bones, and he wants to come back and see if he can fix my life to a certain extent and make amends so that he does not have to spend the rest of his life in regret. This whole thing is like a big fat like chunky circle that keeps on revolving, and the same mistakes are repeated over and over again, not just by my ex, but a myriad of men who, one, passed me up, two, even if they did not pass me up, but they made some strange decisions now all of a sudden, having never known me, because they're tired of Jezebel women. And I'm trying to tell women, this is what inevitably happens. In fighting in a cockpit with other women is only hurting you in the end. You are the collateral damage. You, that Jezebel, is the collateral damage now of priding herself in finally getting the ring, because now her man won't leave me alone. Now her man, and he is vacillating between bring back lost lover and let her die. Bring back lost lover and let her die. And he's not the only one. I will do the next part tomorrow because frankly I'm exhausted.